Lo and behold, we again have a brand new web framework, Fresh. Rightfully so, you may ask why. Well, this time we have a Deno based one, which means that it has interesting features such as rendering on the edge, island-based architecture, and apparently no build step. So, to understand some of these concepts, we will be building this very simple web application. It essentially fetches the Bitcoin price data from a public API, then displays it. It is all server-side rendered and deployed on the edge. Also, I will go through it step by step so you can follow along as well. And that said, hit the like button and let's get started. Now, first things first, before we dive into the project, we need to install the Deno. To do it, let's head over to the install section on the official website. There, we have many options. Depending on your operating system, you can choose the appropriate command. Now, since I'm on my Mac, I will be choosing the shell option. Then copy the command, paste it into the terminal and wait for it to complete. Once that's done, it should give us two export statements. In order to use Deno on the terminal, I need to copy and paste them into my bash profile file located in the home directory. According to your setup and preferences, you can use bashrc, bash profile, or zshrc files as well. In this step, we just want to add Deno into our environment. To verify that the Deno is installed correctly, we just type deno --version command and there we go. We are now ready to dive into the Fresh. To initialize the project, we copy the initialization command from the Fresh website and paste it into our terminal. Then we rename it accordingly. In this example, I will be renaming it to Bitcoin Price Checker and hit enter. It should start downloading the required files, then ask us if we want to use Tailwind, which is a small CSS in JS Tailwind solution. And yes, we want to use it, so I hit Y and hit enter. And as we can see, our project is now initialized. Now let's open it up in a text editor. In my case, I will be using VS Code. Once we open it up, we can see the following project structure. In order to understand it better, let's fire up the project. To do it, we run the Deno task start command. And just like that, it started up. So when we go to the localhost 8000, we should see the default app. And this is exactly the case. At this point, we are ready to examine the code. So first, let's look at the islands and the counter within it. Oh, and by the way, if you have any errors, don't worry, it is perfectly fine. All you have to do is make sure that you have official Deno extension installed, and then go to the settings and initialize the Deno workspace configuration. It should fix it. Anyways, back to islands. Like I've mentioned earlier, Fresh mainly focuses on server-side rendering. Although it's a good thing, sometimes we need additional JavaScripts for our client-side interaction. So to deal with it, it uses island architecture. It consists of individual client-side components which get used when required. In the default project, it is this up and down counter. As we can see, it takes start argument and uses preact state on top of it. And when we look into the index file, we can see that the counter is set to 3. So if I were to change it to, let's say, 5 and refresh the page, we can observe that it is passed to the counter island and the value is updated. It is nice to know that. However, since we won't be using any client-side interaction on our project, I will be removing the counter, both from the island and from the index file. And since we're talking about the index file, it is now a good idea to mention the folder structure. I don't know if you had noticed, but index file is in the roots directory. This is where the paths correspond with the files. So naturally, the index file corresponds to the root of our web application. The bracketed file name here corresponds to dynamic paths. So if I go inside that, we can see the name is passed as a page prop parameter. That way, whenever I go to a path, the page will be dynamically provided. So if I were to go to hey, it says hello hey. If I go to world, it says hello world. You got the idea. It is essentially a root directory related structure, and if you have worked with Next.js before, it should look pretty familiar. And as we are speaking of familiarity, we also have an API directory within the roots. And as the name suggests, we use this directory to create an API. In this example, we have a joke root. Within that, we have a handler, which are functions made up of requests and responses. In this example, we can see that it returns a random joke from the list above. So if I go to /API/joke path, it should return a different joke every time I made a request, which is exactly the case, and that is actually pretty neat. However, again, we don't need this in our project, so I delete it. We also don't need this dynamic path, so let's delete that too. Moving on, we have the static directory. This is where we keep our static assets like images. Since our project has a Bitcoin vector image, I will be putting it on here, just like that. I think we covered quite a bit, which is enough for now. So let's quickly do a bit of styling for our mini project. In the index file, first we change the default logo with the Bitcoin icon that we had just imported. Then let's make it a bit bigger. So we remove the height and add the width of 200 pixels. Next up, we add the MX Auto as a class which centers the logo. If we open up the page and refresh it, there we have it. Now let's add a dark background. And there we have the div that contains our logo. So let's add it, which we can do by inserting the BG Gray 900 class. Once we refresh the page, as we can see, it failed. And that is because the div that we have here does not have full width and height. So to deal with this issue, let's create another div that contains all of our contents, just like that. Then we set its class to full screen width and full screen height. That way we can be sure that it spans all the page. Now if we try it one more time, there we have it. Now we can fix the text, which is pretty easy. All we need to do is add some spacing between the logo by setting the padding to 10. And while we are at it, let's also change div padding to 8. That way we have even more spacing from the top. Next, let's apply some color and size changes. To do it, we can specify the text grouping like so. And inside that, we center the text, make it bigger by passing 3XL sizing, and finally making it white. Then save the file, try it out, and it is perfect. We finally have something that looks okayish, which is more than enough. Now we can move on with the juiciest part, which is fetching the data. There, I have a public API endpoint by Coindesk. It fully returned the Bitcoin price in 3 different currencies as well as the retrieval time. So we will be using that. And if I were to open up the formatted version, we can see it better like so. It is nice, however, we still have a bit of an issue. See, we are using TypeScript, which means that we need to determine the data types for this response. And doing it one by one by hand is actually a pretty time-consuming task. Luckily, we can eliminate that by using a great tool, which is JSON to TypeScript converter, which you can find its link in the description down below. Anyways, we copy the response JSON, then we head to the converter and paste the JSON data. And there we have it. It automatically prepares the TypeScript interfaces for us. How cool is that? Now all we have to do is move these interfaces onto our index file just like that. And while we're at it, let's change the root interface to price, because that way it makes a bit more sense. Also, to make things a bit easier, let's add our API endpoint URL like so. At this point, we are ready to create our handler function. It is the function that gets run whenever the root is accessed. It is also used to fetch the data and render it out. So we add it by export constant handler, whose type is handlers, and it should either be utilizing the type of either the price or nothing, which is null. Oh, and by the way, don't forget to import handlers and page props from the fresh servers.ts file. Without them, our project won't work. Now let's fill up the inside of the function. And there we add an async get request, which takes requests and response, which is our context. By the way, don't confuse this with our get request to the public API. This is a wrapper around that, which is responsible for passing the data to our main function. Don't worry, it will be getting clear once we are done. Anyways, now we can actually fetch data from an API. So we just use the fetch method and pass our API URL, like so. Then we simply assign it to a constant. Once that's done, we can check if the request succeeded by verifying that the status code is 200. If so, then we can complete the response and cast it to price. Next, we call the render method from our context and pass the price. Then finally, if our request fails, we simply return the context with a null render. We are almost done at this point. Now all we had to do is pass the page props as an argument to our main function. And to do that, we use a prop named data. As for the typing goes, it's a page prop and we want it to be either a price or nothing. So within our function, we can check if the data exists. If it's not, we can display a message. In this example, let's render out a heading that says the data is not available. And speaking about the data, we still lack the data display. So in case where we fetch the data successfully, we should display it. Now, since the API endpoint returns fetch time and 3 different currencies, I think we should display those. So let's quickly clone the heading and make a bit smaller. 2XL should be fine. Now we want this to be a display for the dollar amount. Therefore, we should add USD followed by the dollar sign. Then we grab the data from data, Bitcoin price index, USD, and rates. At this point, we are ready to test if it is working properly. So when we should open up the web page and do a quick refresh, we should see the current Bitcoin price. And that is exactly the case. Now, since we know that it is working, let's quickly add the remaining currencies and the last fetched time. So code-wise, we go from this to that. And as for the page, we again go from this to that. As for the usage goes, if I refresh the page, as you can see, nothing changes. And that is because of caching. The Coindesk API uses CloudFront, which is a content delivery network, and it caches the results of a fetched data for a minute. Therefore, if I retry a minute later, we should get the new data. And that is exactly the case. If you don't wait for a minute, you can pass cache control max age 0 as a header to the request. It may work, however we need to examine the API for that, and doing so can be a good challenge. Anyways, now we come to the final step of this project, and that is the deployment. For it, we need to create a repository. So I quickly go into my GitHub account and create a repository. In this example, I will be leaving it public so you can access the code as well. Once that's completed, I switch back to my code and initialize the repository. To do it, I use the command git init. Then we need to make our first commits. So first, I will add all of the files, which I do it by using the command git add dot. Next, we make a commit by using the git commit command followed by a message. In this case, I use initial commit as my message. Then finally, connect it to the remote repository that we have just created. Doing it is actually pretty simple. We simply use the git remote command and then add origin, and we just pass our GitHub repository URL. Now we are one step closer to deploying our application. At this point, all we had to do now is push our code to the remote repository, which we can easily do by using the git push command. It is completed and our code is now on GitHub repository. At this point, we are ready to proceed with our deployment. To do it, we head over to the Deno deployment site. There, we simply sign in with our GitHub account and give the required permissions. Once that's done, we are in our dashboard and we can create a new project. So we click on here and proceed with the deploy from GitHub repository option. Then we can specify our repository just like that. Next, we choose the deployment branch and finally name our project. After making sure that we choose everything appropriately, we click on link and wait a bit. Once it's finished, we can click on this view button and open up our site. And there we have it. We have now successfully deployed our project. As you can see, doing it is fairly simple and pleasant. It kinda reminds me the Vercel way of deployment, which I genuinely enjoy. It also has similar features like analytics, logs, deployments, and settings. And speaking of settings, if you want to terminate the project, you can do it from there as well. All you had to do is head over to the danger zone and hit delete. And that's basically it. In the end, this is how you create and deploy a web application using the Fresh framework. Obviously, there are more details for the project and I potentially missed some of them, because it is also fresh to me as well. If you want to share something, feel free to mention it in the comments down below. In any case, I hope you find this introductory tutorial to Fresh framework helpful. If so, please make sure to hit the like button and subscribe. And until next time, take care.